Hi, I'm Greater Rochester Chamber of Commerce Communications Director Dan Smith here with our CEO, Bob Duffy, for the June edition of the BobCast. Bob, have you gotten a haircut yet?
It's tonight, 3.5 months. So tonight is a night I visit my barber.
Well, that's a good segue to our next thing. The Chamber has started a new initiative for some of our members and some businesses across the community. Tell us about that.
Well, the guidelines came out for hairstyling and barbershops last week by the governor. One of the stipulations is a barber or stylist has to have not only a face mask, but a face shield. So thanks to the great generosity of Ron Ricotta, the CEO of Century Mold and the Century Mold team, Ron has sent over 2,500 face shields. They are not disposable. They probably can last a year or two if need be. They're sturdy. They're well put together. Century Mold's a great company. We have boxes all over our office right now, downtown at the Chamber. And what we're in the process of doing, even going on today, is giving away face shields for free to barbershops and stylists. And we just asked them to give our chamber, contact them. Kevin Downey, who's our membership director, is leading our effort. Actually, Kevin today is downstairs handing out shields to barbers and stylists who are already lining up in our building.
And you can go to greaterrochesterchamber.com, use the search function for face shields to learn more information, or email kevin.donahue@greaterrochesterchamber.com.
And at that point, I just want to say it's great corporate social responsibility on behalf of Ron Ricotta. He's a local business Hall of Famer, and not just by his deeds, by who he is as a person. Ron has donated shields to us in the past. And really what it's there is to help these businesses who've been really out of business, struggling with revenue to stay afloat for the last 3+ months. Every little bit helps. So I really can't thank Ron Ricotta and his team enough for doing that. And I sense 2,500 masks will not last very long. So contact us, contact Kevin Downey, and come on down and pick them up.
And we have the face shield giveaway. We've given away thousands of the cloth masks. How has the operations at Rochester Chamber changed and evolved over the 3 months now that we're in the pandemic protocol? And how have you been doing?
Well, I've been very proud of our entire team, yourself included, how we've reacted to this. We have gone pretty much 100% remote. I'm in the office today. Any given day, it might be 2 or 3 of us here. We're about 20 yards apart, not just 6 feet. And it's been, operationally, it's been a great success. We exist to serve our members, but also to serve the community. So we have really been a resource for information. Thanks to our connectivity with the governor's team in Albany, we get really the information coming to us. We post it immediately. We try to make sure we communicate to our members what is going on, what is happening. We've done great things in that end. We've had speakers, Congressman Morelli, Senator Schumer, our controller, Tom DiNapoli, many others on webinars to promote what is going on, to give people the most up-to-date information, because we have never been through a pandemic before. The complexities of stimulus bills, the changes, the HR changes, everything that's gone on. It really is confusing. It is. It's overwhelming to some, but I'm proud of what we have done. Kathy Richmond, our HR director, has been just an outstanding resource, answering questions after questions every single day. I could speak to myself and many others. I start every day off with probably 100+ emails, and then it doesn't get any better throughout the day. So emails, calls, and follow-ups, and our goal is to try and serve, get back, and be responsive to everybody. On our events team, obviously we can't go to events, so Susan George and our team have put together actually a number of outstanding events, remote, like we're talking right now. They've been educational, they've been terrific, they've been really, just to me, very pertinent to what we're dealing with right now. And we're really maybe seeing trends going forward. This is what the new reality may be for many months, if not years to come in some respects. So we're trying to get out ahead of that. So overall, everybody has done a terrific job. We advocate for our members, and Mark Cohen is our advocacy leader, but we are advocating for questions on unemployment issues, questions on getting PPE assistance, questions on masks. Adrian Hale has personally handed out, I think, 14 or 15,000 masks, along with Kevin Downey, face masks that were donated to us. So Adrian and Kevin have gone out. We give them the members. Adrian's gone out to the community in the northeast and southwest part of our cities, to people that did not have those initially, giving those. So we take our corporate social responsibilities seriously. Last point on this, we are not just a chamber. We have several business lines. Our business lines have been decimated. Our revenue certainly has taken a huge hit like any business out there. It has not been easy over the last 3+ months. We have kept our heads above water. We have not laid anybody off. We have not cut one job. We're hanging in there. We're hoping that the economy will rebound. We have great services and staffing and reference checking and HR, obviously membership, events. We have a lot going on here, but like every other business that may be listening, we are no different. And we've just gone through our financial projections going forward. They've been very tough, March, April, and May. We're hoping for a little better June. And so, like everybody out there who is suffering, we're really no different. We are a business. We have several businesses. So we're here to serve people, but we also are in business to really help our own revenues and to help keep us afloat. So we, like everybody else, we have our own uncertainties, but I feel confident that if we all work together as a team, like this region has done just phenomenally, and like our organization has done for the last 3+ months, we'll get out of this, and we'll get out of it, and hopefully sooner than later.
And I want to talk to you about your role now as Governor Cuomo's special advisor for Finger Lakes reopening. Things are starting to come back slowly. Talk about your work in this field and where we stand now.
Well, I was appointed first by the governor to be a special advisor for the region. There are only 2 regions that were picked for that, ourselves and Finger Lakes and Western New York. That was to advise, to get information to the governor and the governor's team. I don't think there's a region in this state that has sent more information forward. Plans, suggestions, feedback, input from this region collectively, from our businesses, from employees to the governor's team. We advocate tirelessly for people in this region. And I was honored to be put in this position. It is like the control room, which I'll talk about in a minute. It's a volunteer position. So contrary to many of the less than factual posts on social media, no, I'm not paid. And quite frankly, I don't think the governor can pay me enough for this job after 3 months into it. But it has been a privilege to help in any way to do this and to be at the forefront with this region, working with a great team. I'm on what they call the control room. I'll just segue into that. The control room is a group appointed by Governor Cuomo. I am listed as the captain, control room captain. I work side by side with Vinny Esposito, our great regional director for Empire State Development. Our mayor, our county executive, our county health director, and elected officials from all the surrounding 8 counties are on that group, along with our 2 hospital systems. And I think there's 2 business leaders. What we do, we are not a decision-making body. We are an advisory body. Our role is to monitor the public health data metrics every day, which we do. We're on a call every day. So we go through hospitalization rates, infection rates, ICU rates, all the issues that our 2 hospital systems are really facing, along with our county health director. And our role is to, if those infection rates go up, we are to recommend strategies to drive those down. We are not decision-making. I would say often we get blamed for everything we do. That's part of our role, but we don't make decisions. We get information to the governor's team. And I would say he has a world-class analytics team behind him. Up there, we have a constant flow of communication. The governor's team has been terrific, listening to us, being responsive. And you're seeing now, as we get through into phase 2, heading toward phase 3 eventually, almost on a daily basis, the governor's team are coming out with adjustments and changes. They are listening, they're being responsive, we're doing it right. But the one thing we don't want to do is open to a point where we disregard all the guidelines and we find ourselves back like we found ourselves back in March. We do not want that. We want to get out of this pandemic. We're doing it smartly. We're doing it safely. And while not everybody likes it, I have to say this. For all the complaints that people will bring to us and their frustration, which we get, especially if you've not been in business for 3 months, there's also an overwhelming number of people that contact us saying, please don't open up too soon or too quickly. So there are very different schools of thought. There's a lot of fear out there that really has to be understood, respected, and managed. But that's why when we work with businesses to get their reopening plans prepared, even before they open, get ready to open, have them done thoughtfully, because it will save them liability, it will save them headaches, it'll protect employees and customers both. And that's been our ongoing role, but it has been nonstop since this began. And I'll just close by saying this. I'm proud of every single employee of the Greater Rochester Chamber of Commerce for how they performed. They have been exemplary. Then I go back to present company included with you and all of our collective teammates. There is nothing they failed to do. I just hope that people realize how membership does matter. We do this for members and non-members, but primarily members are our number one priority. And we look at what we have done. I will be happy to discuss that with anybody going forward, because there is no organization, there's no chamber in this region or anywhere around this state or any place else that I believe has done what we have done here for the Finger Lakes region. And while it might not be appreciated by everybody, I will tell you it's appreciated by me and so many others, because we have countless members and customers who get back to us every day, thanking us for things that individually one of us or all of us have done to help. And there are many, many stories about that. And I'm proud of each and every one of us for what they've done.
I want to circle back now on the control room group. What's the talk? What is the talk inside the group about summer approaching, the potential for maybe people becoming a little lax, wanting to get back into their traditional seasonal routines?
Well, as I mentioned, the control room group is there to monitor all the metrics, which we do. And we've not had to do this because right now the Finger Lakes metrics look great. They're not perfect, but we are really very strong in every area. But if those rates do go up, if our hospitals fill up, if beds and rooms and ICU space is diminished or reduced greatly, with a second wave probably coming sometime this fall or winter, that could be problematic. So my concern or my warning to everybody is don't let your guard down. You know, I get this stuff. I like all the macho talk. Don't wear a mask. Well, you know what? I hate wearing a mask. I do. I hate it. I have them on me. When I leave my car, I have it on. In my office now, there's nobody around me. When I leave tonight, I have it on. If I go to the store, I wear it. Not because I want to wear it, because I think, first of all, it's necessary. It's being responsible. I want to protect myself, my family, my teammates, my neighbors. I don't want to be irresponsible. And so those that pick these little fights over this, it is not about freedom. It's about responsibility. And I always say, when people say, well, a face mask does not prevent everything. No, it doesn't. A seatbelt doesn't prevent every death in an auto crash. It doesn't, but it helps and probably saves a whole lot of people. So it's a step. It really is. And it should not be a political symbol. It should not be an issue of controversy. It's just a simple step. And for those that say they don't work, then I kind of wonder, why does every nursing home, frontline, or hospital medical leader, ICU, doctor, nurse practitioner, why do they wear masks? I wonder why. If they don't work, why would they wear them? Why? Because they do work. They do prevent infection. They protect people, and that's why we do those. So I'll just fast forward on this issue. Example was Memorial Day weekend. We had one healthcare worker here locally who admittedly went to two parties, about 30 or 35 people total between the two parties. No masks, no social distancing, nothing. And I get it. It's a holiday weekend, great weather. People are tired of being cooped up, but they forget what they should do. Well, out of that party, that healthcare worker was infected with the coronavirus, and with contact tracing, I believe from Dr. Mendoza's comments this week at a meeting, I believe she has infected 8 or 9 other people that we know of right now that have it. And if those 8 or 9 people go out and they infect 8 or 9 people, and just do the math over time, that is the nature of this virus. So we can't let our guard down. We have to really stay on point. We're going to get through this and get over it. But then I look at news reports internationally over in China, where, Wuhan, which was the epicenter when it first started, they're still wearing masks over there. And so I think the issue is, let's not, be dismissive of the guidelines. It's not an issue of politics or philosophy. It's just a matter of common sense that we just follow these. We'll get through it. There'll come a time we're not going to have to wear them. Obviously, there's going to be a vaccine at some point in the future. But until we get to a place where we have a vaccine that gives us confidence to prevent this horrible disease, we're just asking people to please take these simple steps, and we'll get through it.
You mentioned a little while ago critics. You've had your share of critics over your years in elected office. What do you say to the critics now who are critical of your business advocacy and the phased approach to reopening?
Well, first of all, this is our first pandemic. So anyone that wants to criticize, I would love to have those critics step forward and tell us what you would do, because obviously nobody has experience of doing this. I give Governor Cuomo great credit. When you're a leader, when you're responsible, you're always going to be criticized. You make decisions that may make some happy, some unhappy, but you do what you think is right. And that's what leaders do, whether you are a president, a governor, a mayor, a county executive, a town supervisor, a principal, any type of leader, a CEO, anywhere. You have to make decisions. And this is, again, the first pandemic, New York City and New York State, we were the epicenter. Nobody had infection rates like we did. So the governor took in many ways, some drastic steps that were necessary. But you look at what he has done through these steps. We stayed in our houses, we stayed distant. We've gone through 3 months, we've gone through March, April, and May. They've not been easy months for anybody. But you look at the numbers now compared to March, and we are really getting out of this. And so nobody can really quarrel with that. But critics, I've been around enough in my career, you're always going to have critics. And critics will do two things. They will either alert you to something you're doing wrong, which is a great chance to change and make an adjustment, or will reinforce what you're doing is right. If you are doing the right thing, you don't have to worry about it. So, my sense is that they're certainly free to criticize. I respect protests, critics, have some fun once in a while on social media, but I've learned that if there was a fact check on everything, which I hear is now a new trend in some social media platforms, it'll be interesting because you just can't respond to some of these things. And, my belief is people are going to have their opinions and beliefs that will never change no matter what. Example was restaurants opened this week. Dining is outdoor dining, a great step forward. We advocated for that. We have passionately. We've sent plans together. I knew the governor was going to approve it. I did not know when. I was not going to say that, but I would tell people, don't get out front. Like we had one local story where somebody declared they're going to start having permits outside. You can't violate an executive order to go out first, but I knew it was coming. So it came, it was announced. I think phenomenal news for restaurants, restaurant owners, patrons, restaurant workers. But there are still people that will criticize that. So, no matter what you do, you're going to have it. God bless them. If that's what keeps them going every day, makes them happy, I would say keep going. Because you know what? I think we feel great about what we're doing. But anyone who wants to debate advocacy for what we and others have done for business in this region, please, I will debate any day. And if you want to wonder what we do, get off the couch and come on down and join us, because we have a lot of people in this building that do 12 plus hours a day helping. As I said, my volunteer position probably takes up more time than any paid position, but we do it out of love and respect for this region. And there is no region that is doing better right now than Finger Lakes. When you look at, we were the first to be announced for phase 1, the first to be notified for phase 2. Phase 3 is going to be somewhere around June 12th. Don't get caught up on the dates. The governor will announce when. It's always going to be somewhere in the area of 2 weeks, never an exact date. But we are doing great. And for all the critics, I would say this. Find me one example in the past, there's very few of them in our history, where everybody pulled together. Our control room, Democrats, Republicans, urban, suburban, rural, we work seamlessly together. We may have different thoughts and issues and ideas and opinions, but you know what? We come together, we reach a consensus, we work together, we advocate together, we fight together. But you know what? It's been just a great experience. And I'm proud of each and every one of them for what they have done during this process. They've been great partners, great supporters, and nobody should ever question what they have done, because nobody has stood by and watched. Nobody has stood by and just let things happen. The governor has enormous responsibilities. Our job was to give him the best data, the best facts, the best feedback from the street. And we have done that passionately, consistently, every single day since March. I'm proud of it. We'll keep going until this is over. But the critics, come on down. We'd love to have you. Love to have a debate. And call Dan Smith. Let's get on. I have not backed off any shows. Our worst critics, I've gone on their radio shows. I respect them. I was very respectful because I probably could have been a little more forceful in my positions, but it's their show. I want to understand and respect what they do. But I fear no one in terms of debating what we do. I'm proud of this. It's unprecedented to face these things. There'll always be critics and questions down the road, but I just would say this. We're still in the midst of this. And if we had a major fire going on right now, will we be criticizing the fire before the fire was out? No. Wait till it's over. A major event, wait till it's over. Plenty of time to criticize, be pundits, and everybody else will weigh in. But right now, we're still in this. We're getting out of it slowly but surely. But let's get out of this first and then have at it down the road. But I'm proud of it. If I didn't think it was the right thing, I would want no part of it. And I'm proud to help in any way that we can every single day.
And if you do want to share your thoughts or concerns, send us an email. chamber@greaterrochesterchamber.com. I want to transition now, Bob, to the protests related to the George Floyd killing in Minneapolis. You have a unique perspective as former Rochester police chief, Rochester mayor, lieutenant governor. What are your thoughts on what's happening here?
Well, first of all, I'll back up. I was born and raised in the city of Rochester. I've lived in the city, for over like 5 decades of my life. I have seen life at many different angles as a kid growing up, playing sports in high school and college, being a police officer. Every career that I've had has given me a perspective of life and issues. What happened in Minneapolis, as a 28-and-a-half-year veteran of the Rochester Police Department, I watched that video and I would say I was sickened by that video, absolutely sickened. That was a murder. That was a loss of life that never should happen. And I can't understand, first of all, the police officer that did it, and I'm not the least bit surprised by the murder charges that have followed. But what troubled me on that as well was the other officers that stood by. If somebody would have intervened and pulled him off, that poor victim on the ground, this never would have happened. So there was failures on many levels. But going back, there is great anger in this country. There have been a series of incidents over the years. I think we have to do this. First of all, we have to listen to people and their perspective. There are people that I mentioned critics before. People will criticize one thing, but they won't listen to somebody else's opinion. I think the opinion of people right now, be it Black Lives Matter or other people around the country, they have a right to be angry. They have a right to protest. They have a right to express themselves. And I do believe we have a responsibility as a community, as a state, and a nation to listen and look for ways we can all come together. And I always say it's not about pointing fingers, because I fully understand a super overwhelming majority of police officers in this community and around this country are good, decent, honest people who are public servants. They have very difficult jobs. They are not brutal. They are not racist. They are working every day. They go out, they put their lives on the line. But like every profession, and you could take anyone, when somebody does something wrong, there is a stereotyping that goes on. And that has happened. And so as opposed to stereotyping and really blaming everybody for the actions of a few, let's look at systems. Let's look at practices. Let's really take a look at ourselves, because this is not a problem that's made up. And what happened here in our community last week, the protests were fine. What happened afterwards or during it, those that damaged property, burned cars, broke into stores, that was not protesting. That was criminal behavior that should never, ever be accepted. I'm proud of the police department for making arrests for those, as they should. But let's not confuse those activities, which were deplorable, with the protests and really the huge groups of people that came out to express themselves and express their anger. A point I would suggest in this, if we all look in the mirror and look at how can we do better, listen to the pain, listen to the anger, but then realize that we all have a responsibility, everybody does, to affect change. And I honestly believe if we start individually, we start with houses, families, organizations, we look at how can we try to address these issues and create a better community, a better community for everybody. And I would say Rochester has to look in the mirror, and the issue of Minneapolis, it did not happen here. We've had incidents here, yes, we have. But then I look at the failure rate in our school system, and I look at the poverty rate in Rochester, and I look at all the issues we have. We have I think, a history of amnesia here in Rochester, where something will happen, and all of a sudden it gets forgotten, and we go back to normal. If we're serious about change and making a life better for everybody, I think we have to look at a number of systems that impact that. And it's wrong to point to the police. And obviously, police community relations have been a very difficult thing throughout my career, other careers. We've had victories, we've had defeats. But the tough thing is, no matter how much work is done, and I think Chief Singletary is a great chief, who's a chief of RPD right now. He, again, like me, grew up in a city, came up to the ranks in the police department. He gets it, he understands it. But as much work that can be done, all it takes is one incident to fracture that trust if trust is not there. We have to build trust, we have to build confidence, but we cannot dismiss the feelings being expressed by others, because they are real. And those that dismiss it and try and excuse it away, they are wrong. I guess I close by saying this. It's not about pointing fingers of blame. And I tend to, before I blame anybody on anything, I always look at what could I do better? And maybe I'm the problem on something. So if I have a situation with somebody, I always think, how could I have handled that better? If we take a look at how we are, how our organizations are structured, our practices, our beliefs, the things that we are seeing. An example, and I just would say this, in New York City, a woman in Central Park has her dog running free. A man of color bird watching just says, could you please put your dog on a leash? Generates into, on her behalf, a racially charged incident. She was wrong. And I think, let's say this, if that man was not a man of color and he was white, would she have done that? I would say probably not. So that to me is just, you look at these reactions and see these things, these indignities, these situations that happen. It just causes us to take a look, because the issue of race and race relations has gone on throughout our history. We are at a point in time, we have to do better. We can do better, we have to do better. But if we dismiss it, if we just forget about it, and then 2 or 3 weeks down the road, back to normal, we have failed once again. And I would say Rochester can do better, we will do better. It takes leadership at all levels, and not just elected officials. It really takes people to be engaged. But Stephen Covey has 7 habits I love, taught those for years, but he has a great habit: seek first to understand and then to be understood. So before you speak and give your opinion, understand where the other person is. And I will guarantee you, if you put yourself in someone else's shoes and you walk in those shoes and understand what he or she has gone through, it begins, I think it brings a whole lot more of an understanding. We have to do that more effectively across the board. And we are a perfect microcosm of both the good and the bad in this country, in Rochester, but we are big enough to get attention, but small enough to work and make a difference. And we have so many great people in this community, so many people that really want things better. Divided, we fall. We have to unite ourselves here, and we just cannot let these divisions go. And I'll close my last thought. These fractures that happen, if they were just one incident here and there, and there was trust, they'd be forgotten. But there are many incidents that happen. And I think it's about culture of organizations. It's how we have to look at our culture, be it police, business, community, school, you name it. I think we have to look at how we talk, how we treat people, what our perceptions are. And I am no expert, but I've seen enough in my life and seen both the positives and the negatives. And I'll go back and say, I think it's time for Rochester to take a deep dive into this and be a model for this nation. Not dividing, uniting. Leaders don't divide. Leaders bring people together. People in positions may divide, but true leaders do not divide. They bring people together and try and resolve differences.
All right, Bob, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts today.
Okay, thank you, Dan.